Formally, the Mother-32 only has one oscillator. This bass line uses that one oscillator. So these arpeggiated notes shouldn't be possible. Now just to be clear, they're not coming out of the keyboard, they're coming out of the Moog. What's happening is that the Arturia KeyStep is controlling one of two hidden oscillators in the Mother-32. And in this clip, I'll show you how to play them paraphonically alongside the Moog's main oscillator. So let's start at the beginning. What you're going to need to get the Mother-32 to play paraphonically is a CV pitch output on your keyboard. Not a regular MIDI keyboard, but one like the Arturia KeyStep that has CV out, which I'm going to patch into the VCF cutoff control. Now we're not going to hear any sounds unless we open the gate and turn up the filter resonance. And now we've got the keyboard controlling the cutoff point of the filter, which also, through resonance, generates a sine wave, which we can pitch down to make much less annoying, and also tune alongside the main oscillator so that both oscillators, the main oscillator and our new LFO sine wave oscillator, are playing in tune. And now I've turned my Mother-32 into a paraphonic synthesizer. Paraphonic means that both notes share the same gate. They can't play separately. If you hear one oscillator, you always hear the other one running in the background. But as long as the main gate is open, then each of the oscillators can play their own separate notes. At different note lengths, by the way, as well. Now the way the Mother-32 determines the VCF cutoff point is that it takes this knob, the VCF cutoff knob, and adds the voltages of the CV pitch in to it. So I can choose my bass octave anywhere I want and have the keyboard control additional voltages from there. So here I've gone to a different octave and I can play a tune. The bass line is sequenced, simple two-note sequence where I'm changing its pitch on the Mother-32, and of course playing paraphonically through the Arturia KeyStep. So the disadvantage of using the filter as an oscillator is that it's also acting as a filter to the main oscillator. And if we want to hear the full harmonics of the main oscillator, we can't. So the way to overcome this is to circumvent the filter. So here I'm connecting the filter into one input of this simple mixer. I'll take a short patch cable, connect it to external audio, and move the mixer only to external audio so that the main oscillator won't be fed into the filter. And then take the, say, pulse wave output of the oscillator and patch it directly into the mixer. So the advantage here is that we have the full harmonics of the main oscillator alongside with a very clean sine wave oscillator from the filter at the cutoff point. Now I can completely lower the volume of the main output of the Mother-32 because we're getting the output directly from the filter and from the oscillator. Of course, we need gate control here through an external device or just manually. So that's how to play paraphonically with the self-resonating filter. Now I'll disconnect all the cables and show you the second hidden oscillator that we can play paraphonically with, and that is the LFO. Now the LFO is much more tricky to tame. The first way to set it up is take the CV pitch out, plug it directly into the LFO rate control. And to hear the LFO, you can't just turn it up into the audible range because by default the LFO just controls different functions of the oscillator. What you want to do is patch the LFO out into external audio and then turn up the external audio mix. And you see as we raise the LFO rate, it becomes audible, but there are a few limitations. Number one is it can only go so high, so no matter how much voltage you punch into it, you can only get to a certain height of a note. And the second main problem with controlling the LFO rate with CV is that it's not 1 volt per octave. So it's a little trickier to get clean, standard, regular tuning. But if you like micro tuning, then you're going to love CV control of the LFO rate. So once you've got the range you're happy with, you can bring in the main oscillator and then either tune it to the LFO rate using the frequency knob, or use the LFO rate knob to get the two in tune. But even then, the further away you get from the main note that you tuned, the less in tune the note is going to be. So I would use the LFO rate as your second paraphonic oscillator only if you want to play around the tune of the main note that you tuned to, or if you want to get into micro tuning. And if you do want to do that, I would recommend patching the CV pitch out to the mixer and then taking the mix out patch and using that to control the LFO rate. And the second thing I do is connect a tuner, an external tuner, to help you figure out exactly what notes you're playing so that you can sort of more or less aim for the range of notes that you want to hit. So I'll take the main out of the Mother-32, put it into this guitar pedal that has a built-in tuner, and take the output of the guitar pedal and plug that into my mixer input. And I just left the mixer here from a previous example. You don't really need a mixer in this signal flow. And of course we won't hear any notes unless we open the gate. And now you can see the note we're playing appear in the tuner. And once we have the root note tuned, you can play the other keys to figure out where they're at, what vicinity of note they're at least. Now we use the mix knob to attenuate the pitch coming out of the KeyStep so that we control the range of notes that each octave on the KeyStep represents in terms of LFO notes. So if we go back to the basic patching of CV pitch out into LFO rate and LFO out directly into external audio, why, if we're not into microtuning, why would we want to use the LFO as a second oscillator? Well, the reason is that if we get it around the range of notes that we want, and we get it in tune with the main oscillator, then we're not using the filter as an oscillator, and we can use the filter as a filter to shape our sounds. So the sounds you're hearing now are the LFO, which is not too shabby. And if we bring in our main oscillator, which is sequenced by the Mother-32, then you still get a paraphonic synth with full filter control. And we can sort of play an additional tune with the LFO as long as it's in a limited note range with filter effects, and it can sound pretty nice as well. So there you have it, the Paraphonic Mother-32, first using the filter cutoff point and now using the LFO. Now, as long as we have the KeyStep out, the KeyStep has an Arpeggiator mode. And you can pretty easily sync that using the tap tempo. Sync it to the Mother-32 sequencer. And that's the part I played for you in the beginning of this clip. Now, the nice thing about the KeyStep is that you can, besides changing the types of arpeggiators, up or down, you can change the time divisions. So as long as you've got the tempo in sync, you could have a lot of fun with different arpeggio speeds. Last but not least, you can get the high-pass filter to resonate as well. So you can have the same paraphonic capabilities with a high-pass filter. Thanks for watching. If you like this stuff, hit like, subscribe, and comment, and you'll see some more. Thanks very much. Bye.